As stated in the title, this is going to be my last ride on the BMW. I am actually on my way to the Coin Car Wash to get it cleaned up, and afterwards, take it to the dealership. So, this video, I'll be talking about my likes and dislikes about the bike, um, my different adventures that I've had on it, and why I decided to get a new bike. So this bike was never my daily motorcycle. I have the Piaggio scooter for that and the Metacycle. This bike was more of like if I wanted to go out for a long ride, this is what I would take. If I had the day off, this is what I would ride. If I didn't want to deal with traffic on the freeway to get to wherever I was going, to meet up with family, to meet up with friends, this is it. You know, this is more than capable of going on long trips or short trips. So this is what I would take. It was more of like a leisure bike or an adventure bike, as some of you might call it. So I was thinking, when I take this bike to the dealership, if they didn't give me a good deal, I wouldn't have minded just going on a longer ride and then taking this bike back home and simply enjoying it a little longer. But yes, this is going to be my last ride on this bike because I did get a new motorcycle, and I will reveal what I got in the next video. I'd like to point out a few things I liked about my bike, but rest assured, there are also a few things I didn't like. So, let's start off with the things I didn't like about this bike. No gas gauge. I didn't do much research when I bought the bike back in 2019, and shortly realized after I had purchased it that it didn't indicate how much gas I had left. I learned around the 120-mile mark, the gas light would turn on and I would need to gas up again. I didn't know how much range I had left after the gas light turned on, so just to be safe, I would gas up. If I rode hard, it would be around 100 to 110 miles. This bike is not good on gas because it's a liter bike. It's a sport bike, so it uses up a lot of gas. There's no tachometer. You simply had to listen to the engine, and when the time was right, that's when you change gears. I think that's how most riders ride anyway. You don't look down on your gauge cluster and wait for it to redline or wait for the revs to get really high. You do it simply by feeling the bike and listening to the engine and exhaust. Some beginner riders might rely on the tachometer, but it's good practice to not rely on that. Just an FYI. This is the R9T Pure. It's the most basic of the R9Ts. It's bare bones, and it would show this at a stop. For example, sometimes putting the bike in first gear would be a challenge. You'd need to either roll the bike forward or backward while simultaneously pressing the shifter into first gear until you feel and hear the click. I imagine on the higher end models that wouldn't be a problem. If you're kind of like at an incline on this bike, you'd have to roll back and find first gear. I'm not sure how other BMW Motorrad bikes are, but getting to the battery on this bike is a huge hassle. I've never tried it, but I've read manuals and watched YouTube videos on how to get to it, just in case the battery was um, had a low charge and I needed to charge it or replace it. Um, yeah, it's a very tedious process, so that's something to consider when buying this bike. I'm pretty sure it's the same on the higher end R9T models. You're gonna need tools, and you're gonna need at least 30 to an hour, 30 minutes to an hour just to get to the battery to replace or charge. Before I owned this BMW, I had the 2014 Honda CB1100. To take out the seat, there was a key slot that was right under the seat. You just put it in, you turn it, the seat comes right off, and the battery was right there. It was very accessible. A huge difference from this BMW and the Honda CB1100. This is a German bike, a BMW. It is not cheap to service, especially if you take it to the dealership. So be prepared for the maintenance costs. But if you work on your own bikes, this shouldn't be a problem. But I do not work on my own bikes. I can install certain things, but as far as maintenance goes, I leave this up to my mechanic, and it is not cheap. Just another thing to consider when you buy a European motorcycle. So yeah, I didn't find this out until I got the bike, and I was like, oh wow, just like a German car, a German motorcycle is pretty expensive to maintain. And last but not least, on the longer rides, my hands would feel numb at the end of the day because of the vibration of the boxer engine. If you're old like me, it's not a fun feeling. It would take 30 minutes to an hour to get the feeling back in my hands and wrist. Yeah, so that's another thing to consider. These bikes are beautiful to look at. It's a modern classic. But for me, I feel like ownership of this bike has run its course, and I'm totally okay with getting something else, something more comfortable, something more less stress on my body. So yeah, hopefully whoever gets this bike enjoys it, appreciates it more than I did. But yeah, no, not to say I didn't appreciate it. I did appreciate this bike, and it exceeded all my expectations. So with that said, I am now going to list the things I do like about this bike. Out the box, the exhaust and engine sound perfect to me coming from the CB1100. I didn't feel the need to change the exhaust on the BMW. The CB1100 sounded quiet and tame, more like a sport bike, but just I have no idea why it sounded so quiet. But this exhaust on the BMW sounds perfect to me. I did want to get the Akrapovic, I don't know how you say it, exhaust slip-on, but I never got around to it. I guess I was just simply satisfied with the sound, so I didn't feel the need to change it. The R9T Pure is considered a modern classic, and ever since I could remember, that was the style of bike that I've always liked. So that's the kind of bike I've always owned. Same thing with a CB1100. It looked like an old bike, but with modern technology. Same thing with this bike. I fell in love with the color of the tank the moment I saw it, and thank goodness that I got it back in 2019, because I think in either 2020 or 2021 they changed the color of the Pure from this color to like a royal blue, and also they increased the price. So yeah, I'm very happy with the way this bike looks. So this is a modern classic motorcycle, but in some markets it is considered a sport bike. It is a leader bike, and if I wanted to, I could keep up with sport bikes and street bikes, no problem. There has been many instances where I would be riding and then a sport bike would pull up next to me, and we'd ride, and then they go fast, and then I could keep up. And this is one of the things I appreciate about this bike, is that it's fast. I'm not a fast rider, but it is fast. So when I needed it to, I could keep up with traffic, and when I didn't need it to, it can ride slow comfortably, like I do. I didn't want to get from point A to point B as fast as possible. I wanted to get from point A to point B as safely and as responsible as possible. But if I really needed to, yeah, I could keep up with the faster riders. Another thing I really appreciated about this bike is that it was light. Coming from the CB 1100, that thing weighed 540 pounds, and it was just too heavy. I don't understand who or what that bike is for, but this BMW only weighs 483 pounds, so it was very nimble, it's very fast, very maneuverable. So when I got this bike, I was very happy how light this bike was compared to my previous bike. BMW Motorrad has a ton of aftermarket parts and accessories, so there was really no problem customizing this bike the way I wanted it to. First and foremost, I wanted to install the crash bars from SW Motec, because the engine, the boxer engine, stuck out pretty wide on either side of the bike. So just in case I dropped the bike, which I've never dropped the bike, I had those bars to protect the engine. I also don't like riding with a backpack on, so I installed the SW Motec side saddlebags. They're the soft panniers. They're 13.5 liters each, and although the exhaust sticks upward, the bag on the left side fit perfectly. It was no problem whatsoever. I also bought a Cortec magnet tank bag, and that fit perfectly on the tank. So I was very happy with that purchase. I also installed the Puig windscreen right there that you see on top of the headlight, and that helped significantly on my long rides for wind. So I was very happy with that. Also, it looks cool. That's another reason why I installed it. And I have the Rizoma tail tidy kit. The brake light is very small, but when you press on the brake, it's very bright, and I was very happy with that. Riding through traffic in LA is essential. It is legal in California to ride in between cars through traffic. Yeah, I think it's a law. Like you can't, as a car, you can't block a motorcyclist trying to ride through in between traffic. When I first got the bike, one of my concerns was riding through traffic, and I thought the twin-cylinder boxer engine sticking out on either side of the bike would make it difficult to filter through traffic, but it was no big deal at all. As you can see in this video, I have no problem riding through traffic. That's pretty much all I can think about for the likes and dislikes of this bike. So in conclusion, this was a fun bike overall to own for the past 4 years. Honestly, I hope the next person who buys it, enjoys it and appreciates it as much as I have. There's kind of like an emotional attachment to this bike because this was the first brand new bike that I bought. The CB1100, I bought that from some guy who was a second owner, but this is the first brand new bike that I bought from the dealership. Um, but like I said, it's time to move on, let go, and move on to something else. And I will be showing you a video of my reveal for the next bike. This is X3 M40i. That's, I mean,